Crystal, and welcome back to the Joy of It podcast. This is a very special episode. I'm super excited because we're debuting our new background, and I have a guest with me, my sister, Renada. Y'all, I've been thinking a lot about life lately and just kind of how I got here. Not necessarily here at the podcast, but just kind of here where I am now. I look back over the last 3 or 4 years of my life, and it is vastly different than it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's so weird because for a while I couldn't really pinpoint it, and people would be like, "Oh man, you just look so different. Everything's so different about you." And it's like, and now like every time somebody says it, like I laugh because for the longest I had no clue. Like they be like, "So what are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." I mean, I've lost a little weight, but like as far as in like outside of that, they're like, "Oh, well, you're glowing. Like, what's going on?" I don't know. And so for the longest, like it puzzled me because I'm like, there's nothing different. Like there's nothing different going on in my life. I'm just living. But then I actually realized, I kind of sat down and realized that I was different. I think my mindset kind of changed, which also changed my outlook and the outcome of my life. I realized that in order to really live and to live a good stress-free life, I had to change my mindset and I had to get a little bit more intentional about life and about being more joyful and more positive in life. And so one of the things that I realized is that life is going to happen. It's going to always happen. And you won't always find the joy in everything, but there's always something to be joyful about. So even though you may have lost your job, even though things may be going awry, like there's still something in life that you can be joyful about. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to find joy in losing your job or finding joy in divorce and all this other stuff, but I mean, we're still here. Like life is still going on. You still have the ability to get up and try again tomorrow. So that's one of the things that I actually wanted to kind of talk about is just finding the little pockets of joy in life. And so it kind of made me really think about it as like, especially when you have big things in your life that happen, it's like, but you got to get up and keep going. Like what gives you that drive to get up and keep going? And I realized that because I had a big incident that happened last year that it was one of those things that can really kind of rock you. And then I realized like maybe 2 weeks ago that I ain't really thought about it much since it happened. And I realized that if I would have allowed that situation, like being in the negative impact of that situation to really become my focus, then that would have took me away from being able to live a stress-free life. Now, I ain't saying everything is just, I'm walking on clouds and everything is stress-free, like legitly. But there's a lot of, when you find little pockets of joy and little things to be joyful about, you don't get so caught up in the stress. So I am going to give my sister, Renata, I want you to be able to introduce yourself and then also just kind of give us something that brings you joy.
Okay, well, I am super excited to be on this episode, this segment of the podcast. I am super excited for you, trying to hold back some of the excitement so we can stay on script, on time, on task. But when you first mentioned that God had given you this baby, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm really excited for the world to see and hear all that you have, the wisdom that you have to impart in us, just to help us find joy along the way. But I know you asked me to introduce myself. Well, I am Renada Bonham, and there's a lot about me, and I won't spend a lot of time talking about all that I do and where I'm from. And well, I am from Alabama now. I'm excited about that thing. I'm a huge Alabama fan, so I know we're in Georgia. And I tend to catch it a lot from those Bulldog fans, but that's
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all right. It's all in love and fun. I love the game of football, but gosh, I serve in so many different capacities. I think that really brought us together as far as ministry and family. And, like I said, we just decided to get together and talk a little bit. So just experiencing business and all of that. So I'm really excited to share, as we were preparing several weeks ago about the topic. The first thing that I thought about was how important it is for us as individuals to find that place to center. And I was cautious about this word center because I love Jesus, okay? Me and God go way back. We know a little bit about his track record in my life. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm always going to honor God in my life. And I know it's because of the things that I've been through that only he could get the credit for it. So I was cautious about the word center, because in ministry, in life, we hear all these words, religion, universe, all these things. And I kind of get like, let me make sure everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
It's me and Jesus, the Holy Trinity all day long. But I do feel that you said something earlier about finding pockets of joy along the way. It's a decision. So we have to make a decision as individuals, how you're going to show up in your day, how you're going to show up in your home, in your marriage, for your children, your family, your business. It all starts with a decision, because on the spiritual side of things, we know that the will of a person is very strong. If someone wills to live or they will to die, whatever they will to do, God honors that. Now, I think we know that there's times that, I know you've spoken about the passing of your father. And even when my sister passed away unexpectedly some years ago, I felt like the Lord just encouraged me with the fact that heaven's pull was just a little bit harder that day than here in the earth. But making that decision on how you're going to show up is important. And making the decision to be centered, even throughout my day, in business and working and ministry, I can get sometimes a little anxious, because I may have a lot of tasks, a lot of things going on, and I have to just stop in the moment wherever I'm at, in the car, in the restroom, in the hallway, and just give God thanks, because the word of God teaches us that in everything we should give thanks. And I take that literal. So it's like, let me just stop and center myself and think on the fact that it's not as bad as it seems, that this too shall pass. It's not always going to look like this. It's not always going to feel this way. And that really helps me. So I would say that's my first point of advice, is to make a decision to center yourself. Center yourself.
And see, I have this saying that I do oftentimes which is similar, but to start with a smile. And so in doing that, I try to start my day with a smile. And that kind of sets the tone of my day, that I'm going to start my day positive. And sometimes that smile is a little hard to get off. Sometimes it's not sometimes it may come natural. Sometimes it may be like, not necessarily forced, but just making a decision that I am going to start with a smile so that I can start with a positive note. And whether that be thinking back on something that brings me a little bit of joy, thinking on, what all I got to do today, or even something, just whatever the case is. I caution a lot of, well, not caution, but that's one of my life's mantras. And so I tell a lot of my friends, hey, make sure you start your day with a smile. And so I was talking to a friend of mine, and they was like, well, I ain't got nothing to smile about. And I'm like, you can think of something to be able to smile. You might not got anything right now to smile about,
Agreed.
But something has happened along the week. Something has happened along the time, whether that be going back, looking at a picture, looking at some memories, or whatever it is. But like going back, looking at something to bring a reminder of a time of happiness or a time of joy, of something of that sort. Because even though you may be in a period where things aren't really going as great as you would like them to be, where you may not have something to quote unquote smile about, or you may not have anything that's bringing you joy at this present moment, but there's something in your life that has happened to be able to bring you a little pocket of joy, so that you can, because oftentimes you have to live in, even though it's something in the past, you may have to live in that moment of joy until like the current joy kind of catches up in a sense. So even though things are going haywire, like if you gotta go back and think about, the times that you had, like even in grief, and then grief isn't always just, of course, losing somebody, like losing a person or losing a family member or stuff. But you can grieve a lot of things. You can grieve your job. You can grieve situations. You can grieve relationships. You can grieve a lot of stuff. So even in those moments of grief where you can't necessarily find happiness or you can't necessarily find joy, but still being able to live in a going back and thinking about one of those good moments that you guys did have, those joyful moments that you guys did have, will be able to bring it until that becomes your reality.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot of times I will say that especially in going through grieving process, I had to do that where I had to find something to be able to get, like, find a pocket of joy to be able to get me up that morning. So, but but like I said, there's a lot of different ways to be able to find those pockets of joy. So, I did have another question for you.
Okay.
So, when you hear the phrase "find the joy in everything," what does that mean to you, like, personally?
Oh, wow, that means so many things. Finding the joy. I believe awareness is key. You know, I can think back on just a couple of years ago when I felt like I met death in the face. I had only been hospitalized one time, and that was to give birth to my son. And then I find myself in the hospital, and they're saying, "Oh, you have, 2 pulmonary embolisms." And I said, "Well, what is that?" And I knew a little bit about DVT and PEs and things like that from how my sister passed away. But it wasn't until I was in that moment myself, and I thought, wow, this is bizarre. The things that go through your mind when you feel like you're about to see the white light. But fast forward to now, even times when I'm working out, or just it's the simple things like being able to walk, being able to breathe normal. Again, that awareness is so important. You talked about a memory. And we often quote Miranda Curtis. She's a wonderful worship leader, gospel artist. And in one of her songs, she talks about that, like, all it takes is a memory. Because even though you may not be where you want to be, you're surely not where you used to be.
Right.
You may have been through, depression, but now it's more bouts of depression. It's not so common. It's not so often. So for me, when I think about finding the pockets of joy in the midst, just being aware that, I still have life to live. There's more for me, even though I don't know what all that is, but that makes me excited. And and anybody that's around me all the time, I'll say, "I'm so excited." And they're like, "Why?"
Always.
Don't I say that all the time? And sometimes it's by faith. Sometimes it's by habit, but I feel like we have our words have such power.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if I'm going to call in anything, I'm going to call in joy. I'm going to call in peace. I'm going to call in happiness, because I deserve that. We all deserve it. So I would say it's awareness for me. Just being able to give God thanks in everything, like I said earlier, because there's so many, and we reference the pandemic a lot. And how many thousands, I think almost 1 million people died during the pandemic, and the fact that we're still here. I mean, that's got to account for something. There were, every person that passed on was not a bad person per se, or doing bad things. It was just their timing. And so awareness helps us with that too, the timing of it all. I just recently celebrated a prestigious opportunity with work, and I had asked myself, why did it take so long to get here? But then I had to remember that God's timing is perfect. And in that moment when I was receiving the award, I didn't think about anything, all the sleepless nights and the days that I cried, and I wasn't even thinking about none of that. I was just excited.
Absolutely.
Like, yes. So I would definitely encourage people to be aware, and don't allow the negative thoughts to live so long rent free in our minds. Replace those things. We heard a message not too long ago from our pastor about, bringing thoughts into captivity and bringing them to the classroom, and reteaching our mind that you are more than a conqueror. If your circumstance, the situation is saying that you're defeated, no, I'm not defeated.
Right.
The devil is defeated, but I'm definitely not defeated. I'm an overcomer. So that would be my response to that.
And then I would say too, like I said, just changing your mindset and just making sure that, because I believe that even, like I said, when bad things happen and even when things don't go your way, like there's still something in the midst of that to be able to find joy in.
I think it's our foundation, though. I was thinking about that, because there's some people life happens and it throws them off.
That is true.
It can be a personality thing, not that it's bad, some people, and we claim a lot of things sometimes. I don't think that we should, people, and I'm not saying that doctors are in place for what they need to be in place for.
Right.
But I will tell you now, the doctors that I have told them, no, you're going to release me. I'm not going to keep coming to you because I choose to be well. But I just believe that we've got to be, again, so mindful of our foundation. I don't think that I would be where I'm at today if I was not rooted and grounded in the things of God. So when those heavier circumstances came and really shook me, there was always, we always say what's in you is going to come out.
Absolutely.
Positive or negative. And so the many days of praying and spending time with God and seeking him and fellowshipping in the church and all that, it matters when when life happens.
Yeah.
I can't remember that athlete, he would just come out of nowhere and just boom,
Yeah.
and knock people down. But when life is happening like that, I just believe that we will find out quickly where our inner strength lies.
Yeah. And I think you hit something really, I think if it's one of those things that if it's in you, because you have some people that are, I'm coming to realize that even though finding the joy in everything is a newer mantra for me, it's really not. Like I've always been doing it, and I've always been a positive person. Now I may have allowed myself to get down in the dumps about stuff and kind of stay in there, and then or allowed what was going on around me or allowed what people said to really be able to kind of shape my surroundings. But even in the midst of that, like I still always try to remain positive in everything that I do. Like I still never, one thing that irks me and everybody that's around me know it is negativity. Negativity irks me to no end because I believe that the more that we speak that stuff, the more that, I'm not saying that we can't talk about something that bad that happened or something that negative that happened, but like to continue to day in and day out delve into this same like woe is me type of situation, or this whole just like well, this is so bad or this is so whatever. Like, even though you have like a bad situation that happened,
right?
Even though you have like something that may not have gone great, we ain't got to stay in that all day long. We ain't got to stay in that mind. Like, and even like when people have done something wrong to me or done something like that I ain't really care for, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, you won't hear me talk. Like I'm gonna get my initial feelings out about it.
Right.
My people will hear about it. I'll talk about it. Now, so I'm not saying that, but I'm not just gonna keep talking about it. Like I'm not gonna keep like, okay, yeah, they did lie on me. They did do me wrong. But
But you said something so powerful too. We hear the saying of what you think about, you bring about. And the Bible teaches us that as a man thinketh, so is he. And that's one of the reasons why I can't do negativity, because I want to be able to speak those things that are positive and constantly keep that cycle of positivity flowing in my life, for sure. So.
Yeah. And I think it's just so it's important to be able to, because I think you allow yourself to, then you end up being one of those people that we talked about where it's just everything is so negative, everything is so woe is me. And I'm gonna tell you, I can't stand it. It bothers me. Like I have just being honest, I had an associate of mine that I had to really kind of stop talking to because I just couldn't do it. Like every time that we would talk, I mean, some kind of way the conversation would go into just woe is me. And I mean, granted, life happens. So I'm not saying that life doesn't happen, but even in life happening, like there's still something that is good. There's still some piece of good that is happening in your life. So let's talk about that part.
Yes.
Especially if there's nothing. One of my biggest things, all my friends know it, we can talk about it long as there's something new that came about. But if it's still the same piece of information, we ain't finna keep going around this same mountain. If it's the same piece of information, we just not finna do it. And everybody know how I'm gonna shut the I'm gonna shift the conversation, and I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna be one of those, if we on the phone and just if we don't get on the phone and and you talk about something like, all right, then I'll talk to you later.
Look,
It's
all
because I
right,
just
y'all.
because it's one of them things that I'm just I'm sorry, I just can't.
Agreed. I know.
I can't. It
And
just
most people that are like that are not aware. So we talked about awareness. Most people are not aware.
yeah. So and it's that's one of those things that people just don't have the. But yeah, but this particular individual, like he knew that he was just negative, and I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go on that tangent, but I couldn't do it. But anyway, so like I know you talked about as far as in like your sickness.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find the good in that? Like how was I know one of the things, or I'm assuming one of the spots that came from that is, of course, your healthy lifestyle and your
Mm-hmm.
weight loss journey and things of
Mm-hmm.
that sort. But like looking back on that now, what? Because I just believe that even in every bad thing, there's still a piece of good that came
Oh,
from it.
absolutely.
So, like, if you had to go back and look on that now,
Mm-hmm.
like, what would be the piece of good that came from
Ooh.
that
There was a
situation?
lot of good that came out of it, and I'll just be quick. So I was in preparing to travel to Dallas, Texas, to our seminar for Mary Kay. Shout out to all my MK
Yeah,
babes!
that's my Mary Kay
Yay!
consultant.
So I had gone through some tests before I left.
Mm-hmm.
There was some swelling and other evidence of the need that I needed to get checked out. So long story short, I made it all the way to Dallas, made it all the way back home to Georgia, and then as I took sick. But even I never forget when I was riding, I got on the ambulance and the guy said, he said, you know, they were had me hooked up to all this stuff, and they were like, you know, we can't really quite understand what's going on. And he said, well, maybe it's anxiety. And I was like, with all due respect, sir, I got a strong prayer life. It's not anxiety at all, not for me. But I do, going back to what I said in the beginning about making a decision, I decided up front, I'm going to live. Because again, I knew my mom had to be contacted and my sister had passed that same way. And I was like, nope, she will not lose a second child.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a decision. I had to really quiet my thoughts. But looking back over how God orchestrated that whole thing, I could have taken sick in another state around people I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he allowed me to get back home safely and then get to, you know, a local hospital, and the rest is history. But yeah, there was a lot of moments of joy that I could find right now.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's crazy, but I think again, like I say, when you always go back and look at stuff, you can always find
Oh,
a
yes.
piece of it to be like, okay, it could have been
It could have been
way worse than
It
this.
could
So
have
even
been.
if that's all I have, it could have been way worse than this. So
Right.
that is my moment of
Yes.
joy to be able to go back and look at.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's good. I do have something. I
Okay.
gotta I have this little game. Not really a
Oh,
game, but
wow.
this little something. It's called Joy Snapshots.
Okay.
So we're gonna, right before we kind of wrap up, we're gonna talk about little Joy Snapshots. And
Yay.
it's kind of rapid fire. So I'm gonna ask you a question and you
Whew.
just say the first thing that kind of comes to mind.
Okay.
All
That
right.
sounds good.
So, and it ain't gotta be, I ain't saying you can delve into if you want to, or it can just be however you want to do it, but just the first thing that
like
kind of
that.
comes to mind. So, what is something small that brought you joy this week?
That award at work. It was great. It was great. I was excited.
I want to answer that one too. I guess something small that brought me is this, like the background, like getting all of this together is what kind of was, because it was one of those. Okay, so I know we're in the midst of this game, and I'm gonna come back to these questions, but we've been talking about this background for a minute. So y'all know, I remember I told y'all that I really wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to do this podcast. So in not being 100% sure if I wanted to do this podcast, then this is what this is one of the things that not being 100% sure that I wanted to do this podcast, then setting up all the things for this background was still just like, are you sure you want to do this? So I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, and I was like, okay. And I was talking to a group of friends of mine, and I was like, hey, what do y'all think about this? And it's like, oh, that'll be nice. And I'm like, okay, but Chris, like Are you sure you're gonna stick this out? You talking about making this whole thing? Are you sure you're gonna stick it out? And so finally being able to see all the pieces kind of come together. And then not only seeing all the pieces come together, but seeing like my tribe really be able to support me in the journey, like helping me get all the stuff, helping me put the stuff together, or hearing all the questions. So what do you think about this? Or what about this? What about this chair? What about that? Or I can't find the chair, and they sending me options of stuff and like, oh, well, you should get a carpet. You should get this one. You should get
Right.
So like all the stuff, like being able to put all the things together, that was one of the things that I found joy in this week. But you mentioned this award like a couple times. Like, what kind of award did you get at work? Because I don't want to gloss over that, because you're talking about it's been a long time coming. So what kind of award you got?
Well, it was a commander's award, and of course, I won't get into the org and the lieutenant general that presented it to me, but I've supported DoD for over 20 years. I come from a military background. My dad was Army, my granddad Air Force, so I always knew that I wanted to serve my country.
Wait, so you've been with the Department of Defense for 20 years?
Over 20.
Really?
Yes. Long time. So this is an award where we did the numbers today, actually, and within the command that we work in, I mean, it's thousands of people, but just at the base that I'm at, I want to say it might be over 13,000 individuals. So there were 3 of us that actually got the one-on-one time with the Lieutenant General to talk about all the achievements of our team and things that we've done personally. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's big.
Big. It was big. So I know you said small, but it was still, it's great.
I was trying to say that ain't really a small piece of joy, but that's,
oh gosh,
that's good. All right. So what's a smell that brings you peace?
A smell, lavender all day.
Really?
Lavender. Yes.
I am not a fan of lavender.
What? We are opposite.
No. Like, well, hold
lavender
on.
is it for me.
I like the okay. So I kind of like the smell of lavender, but lavender does not agree with my skin at all. Like I am very sensitive to lavender. So like even though like with body washes, with all that stuff, like with bubble baths, that all the bubble baths got lavender in it and the stuff, especially the nighttime bubble bath that got.
You can't do lavender.
No.
I love lavender. I do.
I don't. I don't. And even I think I may be one of the few, but I don't.
No, I'm sure you're not. I'm sure. I'm all about a good smell though.
But yeah, I don't like food.
Oh, what brings now? Yes, food definitely brings me joy. I am a foodie. I think I should have been a chef or a food critic or something in my other life. There's a lot of jobs that I feel like I should have had in my other life, but but food is it. That brings me the most joy.
I think specifically, probably like the smoke from a barbecue pit, like really brings.
See, I'm opposite. Mm-mm.
Like,
because I don't want to smell like smoke. My hair, clothes.
See.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna be the guest that's gonna be in the house.
Wait, see, okay. I grew up in the country. I like in the deep country. So like one of the things that we didn't have like trash service and all that other kind of stuff. So we burned our we had a fire, we had a pit, then we burned our trash. Yep. So like that was me and my brother, like we would love to, that was the chore that we really liked, was like going to set the trash on fire, because like I love control the fire. Okay. So I'm not an arsonist or anything of that nature. So I love fire, but just control fire. So like the barbecue, like because I like the grill too. That's a little side fact that nobody really knows. But like doing it I like to do it on smaller scales, because like in bigger scales, like I have so much other stuff going on trying to host, like I don't have time to barbecue. But I love the smell of like barbecue smoke still in my hair. Like I love it. Oh my gosh. Especially like in this, I know it's weird, but especially in the summertime, like I'm not gonna immediately wash my hair like after we've been on the barbecue, because I like the smell of it. It brings me a little bit of joy. I'm opposite. So what's a song that lifts your spirit every time you hear it?
Every time I hear it, okay, so my favorite song, I have a million favorite songs.
I probably shouldn't ask a singer that, because
right,
you probably
okay, but the first song that came to my mind,
just the first one.
The first one that came.
Yes,
I Will Bless the Lord by Byron Cage. That is my jam. Okay. That's my Jesus jam.
Okay. So now you say that's your Jesus jam.
That's
What's your non-Jesus
Oh,
jam?
my non-Jesus jam. Okay, now I am a 90s R&B lady all day long.
Mm-hmm.
All day long. I feel like that's when music was great. And I could understand what people were saying. And love was real love, you know. It was good. Even though, you know, we were singing at what, 8
Songs
years
that
old.
we probably shouldn't have been singing at that
What was the
age.
group? Immature. You know, they were talking about how they were in love at the age of 10. But anyway, I love 90s R&B for sure.
Gotcha. So, but you didn't tell me what song. You just said you
Oh, goodness. Okay. All right.
just one.
Jagged Edge had a song. What's it called? Let's Get Married. That's the song.
See, I like that song, but they messed it up when they did the remix. The remix messed up the original song for me.
No remix.
The remix messed up the whole song for
but
me.
I like
but that was my song. But then when the remix came, I was just like, y'all just threw it all the way off. Okay, so what's the last meal or snack that made you happy?
Oh, the last meal or snack. Today I had some chopped steak. Okay, for y'all that's old school, that's just take some hamburger meat, put it together, you know, and you char it up a little bit, put some onions and mushrooms and gravy on it. But then we, you know, now we bougie and call it chopped steak.
Okay.
But that's the last thing I ate, and it was really good.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see. Let's do. I got two more.
Okay.
What's a recent compliment that you gave or received?
Oh gosh, a recent compliment that I gave. I'm always telling the ladies that I work out with, I just feel like they are so beautiful, body and all. Okay, you know, like they say, no lesbian. But I believe that it's nothing wrong with telling people how beautiful they are.
Absolutely.
And not having any like innuendos or you know, motives and things. So I would say the last compliment I received was about the award. You know, people were like, you deserve it. Congratulations. So yeah.
And last thing is, what is your go-to way to reset when your joy feels low?
I try to find me an altar, quick, fast, in a hurry. I'm telling you, if I can get somewhere and sit in peace and quiet and just gather my thoughts and sit in the presence of God, because one, it holds me accountable to deal with me. But I love it. I mean, I'm probably telling some of my secrets. Even before service or rehearsal, I like to get to the altar and just sit. And I feel great.
That was good. I like that little snapshot. I'm gonna do that again. But that was good. So I do have y'all, we have had a ball today.
Yes, it has
been great. I will say,
I want to come back
because I'm gonna be honest. I was really nervous about all this stuff, like all the things. Well, I'm always nervous. They're like, when I tell you I'm always nervous, I'm always nervous.
It's
but
the humility you have.
I was really nervous about today, just because this is my first time. Of course, all of this is new, and then this is my first time interviewing somebody. Right. Even though I talk to people all the time, and I'm always asking questions. And people be like, you asked me 12 questions. I get it from my daddy. My daddy said, if you want to know, then you ask. So I asked questions, but it was still just a little different. So, but this was good. I am excited about this. So to wrap it up, I got one more question for you. Okay. So what would you say to somebody that was in one of those hard spots where joy just felt like so far away?
That is so interesting that you asked me that, because before we got off today, I wanted to speak to those individuals that were in a hard place or felt like they were in a hard place, because the reality of it is we are blessed, but there are some people who have been through some tragedy. They were just born into it. It was the cards that they were dealt. They didn't ask to be where they are financially, emotionally, physically, none of that. But I will say that I would highly encourage anybody that's watching or listening, find you a place. There's so many resources that we have out. I mean, from calling the stronger friend to connecting with somebody at church, calling your pastor, you know, phoning different organizations, whether it's mental health, domestic violence. You know, we have so many outlets now that our forefathers, people before us, did not have. So I would highly recommend that you don't sit in silence. And that's a whole nother podcast episode discussion about suffering in silence, but there are a lot of people that suffer in silence. And we put on that happy face, and before you know it, people have made decisions to end their life or thought about it. And my heart goes out to people, and I want them to know, no matter how embarrassing it may feel, look, sound, please, if you can, push past you and know that where you are right now, the chapter that you're in for your life right now does not define all that God has for you and where you're headed. So don't sit in silence. Please reach out to somebody. I know that God will always, I feel like when we've come to our wits' end and breakthrough is right there, He's going to send somebody. He's going to give you an insight to call someone or somebody call you. That's another testimony I could share for another day, because I've been there, done that too. Because He wills for us to live for Him and to accomplish what He's called us to do. So, yeah, I would ask that they reach out. Reach out quick too. Don't be on that island of isolation by yourself. That's dangerous. That's where the enemy wants us to be. That's when he starts helping you create these narratives. You start selling yourself all these wolf tickets of lies and deceit. He's the father of lies. He's the father of deception. So, and then, of course, with all this social media stuff and living in a world that is full of comparison, again, that's why I said in the very beginning, you got to quickly make a decision to find you a place to reset. So yeah, I'm loving, this is why I love this podcast, because people they need this. They need to be reminded that this trouble will not last always. That's what our grandmothers used to tell us all the time. And I'm like, I see it now. We're living it.
And you said something that I think is paramount. Like, we often hear the statement that closed mouths don't get fed. And we think about it from the standpoint of, from a little differently than I'm finna explain it. But a lot of times you can't suffer and just think people are going to just automatically know you need the help. You may have people around you that will be able to see that you need help, that will be able to see that you're struggling. But sometimes we're much better at pretending than we really think that we are. So even though it may look like they see me struggling, they see me barely picking this up, they see me barely doing that, no, you're really good at it. Like, so nobody really could tell that you're barely holding on. Nobody can really tell that you're barely picking this up, because from the outside looking in, you got it. You're good. And we talked about that on the last episode, as far as giving people space and being disappointed and not giving people space to be able to show up. And it's the same thing on the other side. Not always just disappointment, but just in general. You got to give people the opportunity to be able to show up. So if people don't know that you're struggling, if you don't tell anybody that, hey, I need some help, hey, life is life, and I can't find a reason to be able to whatever. Call somebody. Call that friend. And if that friend ain't the one, call another friend.
Call another friend.
Because sometimes when you in the midst of struggle, you realize that all friends ain't created equal. They are not. Because you have some friends that are they're gonna be like, when life is good, they gonna be there. Like, they gonna be the ones that they finna ride with you when everything good. When you got the money, you got this, you got that, they gonna ride with you. But then when life starts really hitting you upside the head, them same friends ain't nowhere to be found. But then when life turns a flip again, they riding with you again. And it's sometimes I will say it's not always intentional. A lot of times they don't necessarily mean to, but a lot of times people just don't know how to be able to support people when they need help.
Absolutely.
And that is difficult, because I will even say that struggle makes you a better friend. Living through struggle makes you better, because then you see what it was that you needed. You see where the deficiencies that came along in your friend group. And then it's like, you know what? I'm going to make sure, and parents do it all the time. I'm gonna make sure my child has a better life than mine. So a lot of times in friendships, if you're a good friend, you realize sometimes you may see the deficiencies in your friend group and see where somebody didn't show up for you, and now you make a conscious effort to be able to show up. I'm one of those friends that I may not be there. I ain't gonna call you every day. Now I got some people that I call every day. I got some people that I text every day. But overall, in my whole friendship group, I'm not gonna be the one to call you and text you every day. But if you need me, I'm gonna show up. Like there's never ain't many friends that I got that are my legit friends that'll tell you that they ever needed me and I did not show up for them.
Right.
If there's ever an event that you're doing, if there's ever, hey man, I just need somebody to come over to the house. Sure, I'll come over to the house. Now, my support may look a little different. I'm old school. I may not have all the words to say, but I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna feed you. I'm gonna make sure you have a good time to be able to take your mind off of whatever you got going on. I may not have all the words to be able to bring you back to life, but I'm gonna be able to give you a moment so that you're not being hit and bombarded with life. Right. So that's one of the ways that I say that I reset is just making sure that I show up as much as I can. But again, as a friend, sometimes it's hard to show up if you don't let me know that I need to show up.
Right.
And so, but on the other side of that, I'm that friend too that it's hard for me to tell you that I need you to show up for me. I am working on that. That is something that I am actively working on, because the old part of me, as difficult as it was for us to put this wall up, I would have tried my best to be able to put this wall up and struggle through it. I would have got it up. Now, it would have got up, but it got up much easier with the help of them boys than it would have if I would have did it myself. But also, the good thing is when you got people around you that are good people, they also know that.
Yes.
And they will make sure that you're not going to try to do it yourself.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, I know that came in. We going to come such and such day to be able to do that, so you ain't got to worry about it. That's the blessing of having a good tribe.
Oh,
but
yes.
This has been great, y'all. This has really been good.
So good.
I'm so excited. But
see, now I have you saying it.
I am. I'm so excited. I'm excited because I feel like we're going somewhere. And if y'all keep riding with me, we're gonna keep riding. But thank you for coming. Thank you for being my very first guest. Yes, I'm super excited. Just about what's next. What's next with what you got going on. And side note, she didn't tell y'all, but she be singing and stuff, not just at church, but she be singing and stuff. And so she got some stuff that she working on that'll be it's in the works. And even if it ain't in the works, maybe it's the push to be able to get it in the works. But if y'all aggravated enough, it may come in the works for real. So, but I'm super excited about what's to come. I'm super excited about just I don't know about life. Like I am. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on. A lot of stuff that the people that I know and that I'm connected to are working on. And so I'm just super excited about all this stuff. But like I say, always ride with me and let's take this journey of finding the joy in it together. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. Do you have socials?
I am on Instagram right now. Don't, fuss. I got to get set up on TikTok and reset up on Facebook. But yes, I'm on Instagram.
Where can the people find you?
They can find me at official Renada Bonham. That is the tag. That is the handle.
Okay. So go ahead, like I said, go ahead and follow her, but like, share, subscribe, and all the things, and turn your notification bell on. But if y'all aggravate her enough for real, she might put some music out. So just please aggravate her enough so she can get some music out. But thank you guys for coming on this journey with us, and I will see you later.
Bye.
Peace.